Good afternoon. Gabe DeArmond here, flying solo for this edition of State of the Tigers, our weekly show here on PowerMizzou.com. The original plan was I was going to talk to Drew King tonight at 7 o'clock. We were going to talk a little bit of Missouri basketball, just going to kind of gab about whatever came up. Everything was going to be nice and easy. And then everything went to hell. About 11 o'clock this morning, Pete Thamel breaking the news that Missouri Athletic Director Desiree Reed-Francois is headed to the University of Arizona, which plays in the Big 10. In the Big 12, which is not the SEC or the Big 10. She is making less money than she was making at the University of Missouri. And everyone's reaction is, what the hell just happened? So we're here to kind of process that with you guys. I've got a post up on our message board. A lot of you guys probably subscribe, have read that. If you don't subscribe, we'll talk through some of it. We'd ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the site, all that. Also, before I forget, subscribe to James Carlton as your insurance agent. State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves, Missouri. I was actually supposed to talk to James this morning about my insurance needs. Didn't work out. Appreciate James for not calling me as scheduled once this occurred. But James wants to take care of me. He wants to take care of you guys. He's a big Mizzou fan. He wants to work with you, get you the best deal he can get you on your insurance rates, whether that's car, home, life, whatever. And he also wants to talk a little Mizzou and NIL with you. You can get him at carltoninsurance.net. Reach his team at 314-961-4800 or on Facebook at facebook.com/Carlton Insurance. So appreciate all you guys being here. Already got over 100. I'm sure we'll have more rolling in here. And just want to encourage you to questions, comments, whatever you've got. I'm going to get to those because this is kind of your show. Look, I've been doing this for a minute. This will be my 5th athletic director coming up, Mike Alden, to Mac Rhodes, to Jim Sturk, to Desiree Reed-Francois, to whoever comes next. We will talk about all of that. Morgan, appreciate you with the super chat and getting us started here. Like I said, just comments, questions, whatever you got. I'm just going to roll through them and kind of work through this with you guys because I didn't see this coming. This shocked me at 11 o'clock this morning, and that was 4 hours ago, and I'm still kind of trying to go through everything. Did we ever get the full story on the Drinkwitz hire? Seems like the BOC likes to take credit for making that hire when they vetoed Sturk's original list, but we've only heard the BOC side. Look, I can tell you this based on my reporting at the time, Dave Matters reporting at the time, I believe Randy Carricker's reporting at the time. I'm sure there were others. Jim Sturk brought 3 names to the curators. Those names were Blake Anderson, who I had people at Arkansas State telling me Blake Anderson's taking the job. He has told his team he's coming to Missouri. Skip Holtz, and I want to say the third one might have been Sonny Dykes. Not Sonny Dykes. Anyway, I can't remember the third for sure. But Skip Holtz was the second. Blake Anderson was the first. And there was a third name, the TCU coach. It is Sonny Dykes because Spike Dykes was his dad. So I think Sonny Dykes was the third, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the curators basically looked at that list and said, no, this is not going to work. We're not hiring any of these people. Go find somebody better. What happened from that point, I don't exactly know. Sturk's side of it always, and people who worked for Sturk told me, hey, we went out. We kind of looked back at some other names that were initially on our list. We settled on Eli Drinkwitz. The curators flew out and met with him. That is not normal. That's not how it usually happens. I don't remember any other time with the curators being involved with like the interview and the hiring process other than approving the hire, obviously, when it's done. If I'm wrong there, if we've got any curators watching, I don't think you're probably huge fans of mine, but feel free to correct me on that and on my recollection of whether you're involved with the interview process or not. Anyway, a couple of curators did fly out to North Carolina and meet with Eli Drinkwitz. He came back the next day as Missouri's head football coach. And it's all worked out well. Like, credit to the curators for saying, no, we don't want this guy. Like, when I thought it was Blake Anderson, I said, I don't see why you fired Barry Odom to hire Blake Anderson. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Eli's done a good job here, right? 11-2, 7th in the country. Like, nobody can say they didn't get that hire right. Nobody's going to sit here and tell you as of this morning that Missouri would be better off if Blake Anderson was his football coach than Eli Drinkwitz. So, but yeah, that empowered some people at Mizzou. There's no question. That is what led to Jim Sturk being out at Missouri. I think it was technically stated as a resignation. These are always stated as resignations. That was not the case. That was not Jim Sturk's choice to leave Missouri. He was encouraged to do so, and it was a direct result of that process that had happened, a year and a half before. Didn't actually officially go down for a year and a half, but it started that day, December, whatever it was. I can't even remember. I just remember I was in Indianapolis at a swim meet with my son when I got a call that said, "Hey, here's what's going on," and wrote that story. I know Dave wrote one the same day. I know Randy Carricker had tweeted the news like, "Hey, they brought 3 candidates." And so as I kind of outlined in the thread on our board, what happened today has some roots back then. And that is not, I don't want this to be me painting Eli Drinkwitz in a bad light and saying Eli Drinkwitz, that's not this. What his relationship is with Desiree, I don't know, really. I mean, hey, they were 11-2, 7th in the country. I would think he liked what she did for his program, and she liked what he did for her athletic department. Now, does that mean they hang out and, have wine and cheese together at night? I have absolutely no idea. I don't know what their personal relationship is. But professionally, it seemed to be working. Everything in the Missouri athletic department seemed to be working. Now, I understand basketball sucks this year. Basketball not currently working, but it worked really well last year. It's working on the recruiting trail. Pretty much, this seems like it has been the best year and a half period. The 2023 calendar year, I just said this on 810 in Kansas City, like that was the first year since 2014 that Missouri fans could really feel good about. Your basketball team won 25 games and won a tournament game. Your football team won 11 games and won the Cotton Bowl over Ohio State. The recruiting classes are, top 5 in hoops, top 15 in football. The NIL money is flowing. Everybody's on the same page. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and I said it seems like the first time Missouri's finally gotten everybody kind of pulling in the same direction. And now this ain't same direction, guys. She left for a worse job. And there are only 2 conferences people in college athletics want to be in these days. It's the Big Ten and the SEC. She was already there. She didn't have to do anything else. She was already there. And now she's in the Big 12 for less money. You tell me why that happens. There's only 2 ways that happens. Either the people in charge say, hey, we think you should probably look somewhere else because not going to be long here. Or she looked at it and said, this environment, the way things work here, this isn't going to be good for me long term. I better get out. I better Frank Haith my way to Tucson, Arizona. Because that's what happened today. It's a worse job. It just is. And she may do very well there. I hope she does. I had a really good relationship. Well, still do. I'm not going to speak of her in the past tense. Have a really good relationship with Desiree. Have liked working with her since she took the job here. Not speaking ill of her for doing what she obviously felt had to be done. But nobody's going to argue she just took a step up. It just isn't. And says we need a QB2 and an athletic director. That is certainly true. Jimmy Trimble wanting to lay the blame for Governor Mike Parson. That is probably beyond my pay grade, guys. Look, I'd find some fault with the way the Board of Curators has done things here over the last 20 years. I have not been shy about saying that. As I said earlier, I think I've probably not made a lot of fans on that board because of some of the things I've said over the years, and that's fine. That's my job to tell you what I think, and that's what I think. Parson, the politics, I'm not going to get into it. The oversight committee needs to be resolved. So for those who are watching that don't know, on February 8th, I believe, which, God, that was only, 10 days ago, 11 days ago, Missouri sent out a release that said, hey, we've established this intercollegiate oversight, athletics oversight committee, basically to, help shepherd Missouri in this new age of college athletics. It was a big word salad. I don't know exactly what it said, but it was something like that. And I asked, like I did on the radio, like I did on another podcast, like I did on our message board, is that not the athletic director's job if someone from Yahoo or Rivals emailed me and said, Gabe, we're going to form a committee to kind of figure out how to best run Power Mizzou, my reaction would be, no, I run Power Mizzou. I've been doing it. It's going fine. Let me do it. And if they said, no, we're gonna form this committee and these 4 people are going to be on it, then I'd say, cool, you don't trust me to do it, so I'm going to look for another job. And I think that's what happened. Now, I don't think it was just the oversight committee. I think the oversight committee was the straw that broke the camel's back in that regard. I think there have been some other tensions. There have been some other disagreements. There have been some situations where maybe Desiree and the board weren't on the same page or seeing things the same way. I'm not going to say whether she was right, they were right. I don't know enough about it to tell you that. But I think that there was definite tension involved. And I think the final piece was this oversight committee, which, look, maybe those are common. Maybe they're everywhere. I don't know. But when I look at that, I say they are forming a committee to do the athletic director's job. They already have an athletic director. Those 4 curators, I'm sure, very successful in what they do. Good people. I know a couple of them. No issues. But they're not the athletic director. And if you have to form a committee to be the athletic director, then why do you have an athletic director? Same thing I said when Eli Drinkwitz was maybe going to hire an offensive coordinator. Everybody said, do you think Desiree is telling him he has to hire an offensive coordinator or is telling him who to hire or whatever? No, it's not how that works. You hire the head football coach to hire his coaches and to run his program the way he believes his program should be run. And if you don't think he's the best person to run that program, you fire him and find the best person to run that program. If you need a committee to run your athletic department, you don't think the athletic director is capable of doing it as well as somebody else. And then that person shouldn't be the athletic director. And that's the result today. Whether it's because they said, we don't really want you to be the athletic director, which I don't think is the case, or whether she looked at it and said, I don't think you want me to be the athletic director. I think that's the case. I think it's not a good day for Missouri fans. It had been going well. I think she's done a good job. I think Eli Drinkwitz's done a good job. I think Dennis Gates is struggling right now, but did a really good job. Reasons to think he can still do a good job. It was all going okay. It was all going better than okay, honestly. You're as good as you've ever been in the one sport that really matters. Doesn't mean the next person can't do well. A lot of things in place. Could take over, not miss a beat. Everything's fine. But I think Missouri fans and Missouri athletics would have been better off if these people involved in this could have gotten together and said, look, I may not agree with you on this. We may not love each other. We may not go play golf together on our off days. But we figured out how to make this work. Let's keep doing it. Missouri didn't do that. At least one side today said, I don't want to try to make this work. I want to go do this somewhere else. And I don't think that's a great thing. Again, does not mean that it can't improve, can't get better. The next person, like I said, could very well come in and take over right where things left off. Everything's going well. Nick is wanting Laird Veach. If I had to guess, I think that's Missouri's next AD. He was in the mix last time when they hired Desiree. He's the AD at Memphis. He's been here before. He knows how things work. I think he has some support maybe on the board. I think he'll definitely be a candidate. He's got to be the name. If it's not at the top of the hot board, it's right there. It's high on the list. So I think that's a possibility. I would look into Ren Baker. Mark Allnutt's name may come up. A couple other names being floated around. We'll see where it goes. It's a little too early to probably get into that. Jared, appreciate you being here and the regular donation going down a little bit since we're taking less money today. Appreciate that, man. All in good fun. Kyle wants to know how there were no rumblings about this prior to an announcement. Look, nobody I've talked to seemed to see this coming. Doesn't mean there weren't people that there certainly could have been some people that saw it coming. Nobody I've talked to today seemed to know it was coming. This seemed to come out of the blue with the Pete Thamel drop at right around 11 a.m. I actually found out about it from a text from a friend. I was not at that. I was getting ready for a radio interview. I was not on Twitter, and I got a text from a friend that said turning down USC to take the AD job at Arizona is a choice. And I thought, oh, don't let this mean what I think it means. And that's what it meant. So yeah, sometimes we get caught off guard, guys. Got caught off guard here. Hunchback of Von Castle, does the way this departure happened hurt the ability to bring in a strong candidate? Maybe. I mentioned Laird Veach. I mentioned Ren Baker. Those guys both know about Missouri. They know how things work at Missouri. They know the politics and the things you have to deal with and all that. Is that a positive or a negative? I'm not sure. Depends on the person you talk to, probably. I don't want to pretend that this doesn't happen a lot of places. Good friend of mine covers Auburn, and they have a saying, JABA stands for just Auburn being Auburn. Things like this happen there. Things like this seem to happen in the state of Texas a decent amount. Florida's kind of a mess. It is my belief that you hire people to do their jobs and let them do their jobs. It frequently does not work that way in college athletics. It should. Probably be better if it did, but it doesn't. So, that is how it goes. Let's see. Assuming Gates's leash is shorter now. I mean, it's always shorter when the person that hired you is no longer your boss, right? Desiree was the one that found Dennis Gates or picked him. And so, yes, obviously, it would have been more secure for him if she was still the AD. I don't see a scenario where Dennis Gates get fired after this year. It costs like $5 million or something like that. He's good. He deserves it. If a new AD comes in and fires him, I got major questions. I don't think that would happen. But yeah, there's probably more pressure on next year than there would have been with the same AD. Now, there could have been situations where Desiree would have fired him after next year, right? You go 8-24 again. I don't care who the AD is. That's on the table. But now, what if you're 14-18? What if you're better, but still not good? What's the leash then? I think it's shorter with a new boss than it would have been with the old boss. How short? I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a reasonable conclusion to draw. Let's see. A lot of this we've been talking about. Okay, Carter wants to know, why did no Mizzou writers ask the board of curators why they felt they needed an oversight committee? So I can only speak for me. First of all, I was not at that curators meeting where this came out because I had no reason to believe I needed to be there. I only go to a curators meeting if I have pretty good indication, hey, they're going to do something that impacts what you cover. So I wasn't there. And I don't talk to any of the curators regularly. When the oversight committee came out, I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought, well, it's kind of weird, but whatever. They form committees and do things all the time. It just didn't strike me as something that was that big a deal. Now I think that's wrong. I should have thought more of it. And Carter, it's a fair question. Should have raised my eyebrows a little bit more than it did. But it didn't. And so that's why we didn't ask. I just didn't. I don't know. I just figured, hey, college sports and higher education, they form committees all the time. Whatever. This is just another one. It really didn't strike me as anything. Beast Mode wants to know about the facility upgrades now. Look, I don't know. I mean, they just got $50 million for the North End Zone. That's obviously already been approved. It's going to go as planned. Beyond that, I don't know. New person in charge. Probably have some different ideas. Whatever Desiree was hoping to do is now, if it happens, it's going to happen in Tucson. It's not going to happen here. That doesn't mean that things won't happen here. Missouri's in the SEC, got a lot of money. I'm sure facility upgrades will be on the table, but I think it will be different. Let's see. Brian seems like with recent success, this would be an attractive position to be in the SEC. Is that two glass half full? It's not. Like, it's a good job. There's not a lot of better AD jobs. Like I said, there's two conferences you want to be in: Big Ten, SEC. These are better jobs than the other jobs. You can pay. That matters, right? You could probably find somebody who says, yeah, there's some stuff there, but there's stuff everywhere. I can deal with that. They'll hire a good AD. Will it be someone who's better than Desiree, worse than Desiree? I don't know. We'll know that in a few years, but I think they can hire a good AD. I don't think it's panic. Oh my God, she left and now she was the only person who can do this job. I don't think that at all. I think they can go out and get somebody, and probably somebody pretty good. Probably somebody from another Power 5 school if they want to. So no, I don't think that's too glass half full, Brian. Let's see. Still going. Drinkwitz is wishing he'd pushed harder for Texas A&M. I don't think that at all. I think Eli's good here. No issues. A lot of the same questions. I'm catching up on these guys, so I'm obviously a little behind. How long do these searches usually take? Look, this could be as simple as this. This could be as simple as either Laird Veach or Ren Baker. You guys were finalists last time. We talked to you last time. We don't have to go through a process. Do you want the job? Missouri could have a new AD tomorrow. It also could, I know the last time they did this, Moonshoy wanted to be deliberate. He wanted to talk to people more than once. He wanted to go through a process. And so it could take a couple weeks, could take longer than that, honestly. I don't have a time frame on it. I wouldn't think it will take that long, but you got to have somebody who wants to take the job. Weepier Impala, what does this mean for Dennis Gates and the possible Michigan opening? Dennis Gates ain't getting a job this year, guys. I mean, if he's 8-17 and 0-12 in the SEC, you can't hire that guy off this year. I don't see it. Only way I could see him leaving is if he says, hey, the person that hired me in here, and he takes a job that's not as good. Michigan's every bit as good as Missouri. So I just don't see that. Jimmy says DRF made a push at USC in Washington and didn't get traction. Certainly could be true. I put her name out there as a USC candidate and was told she didn't want it. Now, was that spin from her side? Was that she didn't want it because she already knew she wasn't getting it? Certainly possible. I can only report what I'm told. So, Schiffer in the chat, where does DRF finish on the AD pecking order in your time on the beat? Look, I've been pretty upfront about this. I really liked working with her. She was a human being. It was not a transactional relationship. She was good to me. We had a good relationship. When I had a question, she would answer it if she could. She was available. I liked working with her. Mac Rhodes was always really good to me, honestly. He was not obviously as successful in his time here as some of the others. So you guys will rank him lower, but he was always really good. Never had an issue with Mike Alden. It was a little bit different because I was younger and I hadn't been here as long. Mike was here before I was here. So I didn't probably have the relationship or the standing, at least for the first part of his career, that I maybe have with some ADs since, because I've now been here for 21 years. So that one was a little bit different, but Mike was always good to me. I still every now and then will text or talk with him, and see him and his wife in public, and they have always been very good to deal with. And Jim Sturk, I didn't have a problem with Jim Sturk. I didn't feel like I knew him nearly as well as I probably knew the rest of the ADs I've covered. I think that was just a little bit his personality. If you talk to people that worked for him, they kind of said the same things, just didn't feel like maybe they knew him that well. He was more, I don't want to say managed from afar. I don't know if that's the right term, but a little bit more kind of overseeing the whole thing. And when I asked for Jim, I got to talk to him and he answered my questions and things like that. But he was a little bit different, not bad. Just I feel like he was a little tougher to cover. I like covering Desiree. I think she will do a good job, certainly in Arizona, although that's a tough one right now. Are there any positives? I mean, look, like I said, Missouri's in the SEC. They got money. They got a football program that's up and running. It's not bad. They can hire an AD. Wasn't she on the radio broadcast on Saturday? She was in Oxford. Now I don't know if she was on the radio broadcast or just sitting there because Mike Kelly wasn't at the game. I don't listen to the radio broadcast, so but yeah, she was in Oxford on Saturday. And my understanding is this has come together pretty quickly. How quickly, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it just started Monday. I haven't tracked her planes or anything. But hey, it's done. She's been announced. There will be a press conference. I think it's Wednesday of this week. And off she goes to Tucson. Does this affect the donation or could it be related? No, I don't think so. I think that donation's been made, and it's been made by people that really are passionate about Mizzou sports, not about a specific athletic director or anything like that. Has the new oversight group met? Michael, I honestly don't know. I don't even know if they have meetings. I'll try to find out more about that, but I don't know a lot about it, to be quite honest. If we hire Ren Baker, does that mean we can get Bob Huggins? I think the Bear has signed his own permanent pink slip in college basketball. I don't think he will be coming back to post. Aaron wants to know what frictions there were about the facilities plans. Look, I just know that it was thought by everybody that the curators meeting, I think it was in November, when they approved the North End Zone plans, like it was thought there was going to be a lot more to that. It was thought to be on a much bigger scope going into that meeting, and then it didn't happen. I think the brakes were pumped a little bit. Hey, let's just go a piece at a time. And I think that's kind of telling, right? Hey, we want to do this and you're on board and everything's good. And then all of a sudden not on board. And I think that was, again, that's why I say this oversight committee wasn't everything. I think it was the last thing. I think there were definitely other things leading up to it. When will we see the North End Zone pictures? I've got no idea, to be quite honest. How confident are you on the future of Mizzou athletics? Look, you're as good as your next season. If Eli Drinkwitz goes and wins 10 games and he's in a playoff, good shape. If not, we'll see what happens from there. Let's see. Is it possible the curators pushed her out? It's not impossible. I think it would be dumb. I don't have an indication that happened. But look, I'm not in these rooms. I can't say for sure that it's impossible. And this is, a lot of talk about the politics and this and that. And look, guys, egos and politics and things like that, they're all involved here. They are. And that's the tough part. Like, this was working. You would like to think that adults could have come together and said, hey, maybe we're not best friends, but it's working. Let's keep it going. And that didn't happen. What it means for the future, I don't know, to be quite honest with you. Alex wants to know when we might know more specifics on when she made this decision or why. Like I said, she's got a press conference in Tucson on Wednesday. I'll watch it. I don't know what she'll say. I hope to talk to her at some point, if nothing else, just to say, hey, appreciate working with you and all that. I doubt she'll be real forthcoming with me on the record, at least, about what happened or why. So we may not really ever know specifics, right? A lot of these things, just over time, we kind of learn specifics and they come out through, whether it's me or somebody else, through kind of here's what I've learned type things. Bo Bayman asked a question, which it's a joke, but this I seriously want to address. Bo's asking about Dave Matter coming back home. And these are the people that nobody thinks about when something like this happens. There's a whole bunch of people over in that athletic department today that don't know what their futures are, that don't know if they have a job tomorrow, if they have a job in 3 weeks, if the new person will bring someone to replace them. It's the same as when a football coach leaves. We all think of the head football coach leaving for $18 million somewhere. But nobody thinks of the defensive analysts or the GAs or the recruiting people or, just all the people that aren't making life-changing money, that are just going and doing their job every day. And now their boss is gone and they don't really know what the future is. And that's not just Dave, that's a lot of people over there. And, I know that's not something fans generally think about or probably care a whole lot about, to be honest, but it's a part of this, man. And it's the human part. And there are a lot of people like that you get to know, the ticket office and the operations people, and a lot of people that they don't know what's going to happen going forward. And I get it. Hey, that happens in every walk of life. So I'm not saying it's any better or worse than in any other job, but those are just the types of people that we don't generally think about. Do you find the timing curious at all? Middle of February seems odd. Yeah, a little bit, but I don't really know when a good time for this is. Like, if this happens in May, is it better? I don't know. Maybe, I guess, in the summer. But there was a job open that she thought was a good landing spot, and she took it. There's no guarantee in 4 months that a job like that would be open, Can you please confirm our recruits won't leave because of I can't imagine a recruit leaving because the AD is different. The head coach, sure. The position coach, maybe. The AD, no football player or basketball player was coming here because Desiree Reed-Francois was the AD, other than maybe your kid who was committed here before she was the AD. So no, I don't think so. 6 ADs in the last however many years. Is this a sign there is something dysfunctional with the BOC? I can't say it definitively, but I can't say it's not. I mean, it's a lot of turnover, man. There certainly have been reasons for some of it. Alden, I think, after the Kim Anderson deal and how that went down, I think he was looking to get out. Mac Rhodes after November 2015, done. We explained the Stirk thing, and now with Desiree, like, there's a reason for all of it. But yeah, it's a lot of turnover. Rob Peace says she went to Tucson this morning. Look, guys, I appreciate the questions about specific curators and stuff, but I'm not going to get on here and slander individuals. And I come on, that's not my place. I don't have enough information to do stuff like that. It's not a place I'm going to go. Let's see. So Kent is asking if the board of curators was expecting more from the facilities proposals. No, I think it was the opposite. I think the athletic department was expecting more to be approved than was, based on, what I have heard. Yeah. So Jim Bob, I think we're all in the same place as you. This was not what I expected this morning. This was not how I expected the week to go. This is where we're at. This is now my full-time job. Drew will cover basketball tomorrow night. Gerard's got spring football stuff, but this is now pretty much where I'm at. Jimmy Trimble, whose job is it to report on the curators and their involvement in athletics? I mean, when it crosses over, certainly it's our job. And, I put up what I believe to be true today. But like, it can't just be rumors and gossip and stuff, right? Like, I just don't deal with the curators on a regular basis because they're generally not all that involved in what I have to worry about. I mean, there have been some times that I've sat outside a lot of curators meetings. Hey, should we fire Mike Alden or hire Mike Anderson? Every time they either need to hire or fire a coach, I do that. But I mean, the curators athletics is a very small part of what they do. They're overseeing the entire university system. I mean, if they have 4 meetings in a year, there might be once generally that I have a reason to go to one. I don't go to the vast majority of them. There was obviously during conference realignment that was different because it was all these meetings that we had to be at every one. But generally, there's not that much overlap there. It is my personal opinion that the curator's job should be hire the AD, get out of the way, and let them do their job. You want to hire this person? Rubber stamp. You want to fire that person? Rubber stamp. Now, obviously, hey, you want to hire this person for $72 million a year? No, we're not going to approve that. But within reason, that's my opinion of how it should work. I don't think that's always how it works, and other people have different opinions. But that's just my opinion. I've held that for a long time, and I don't think that's always happened here, and I don't think that always happens at a lot of places. Maddie wanted to know how much impact Desiree had on NIL. I mean, she was definitely a part of it, no question. She was recruiting a lot of these donors and getting a lot of these donations and stuff like that. So no question, there was a part of it. Now, ultimately, it's probably more Gates and Drinkwitz, but yeah, I think she was involved. Blake Casey brings up a good point. The Arizona Athletic Department had accounting errors that gave them a $100 million deficit they didn't even know about. Yeah, it's the only thing I can compare it to is Frank Hake leaving for Tulsa. It's the only thing I've covered that's similar. Now, Arizona is better than Tulsa, but it's the same type of thing. It is leaving for a worse job that pays you less money. And as I wrote, and as we've talked about, there aren't that many reasons that happens. It doesn't happen that often. But when it does happen, like, there aren't that many reasons. Either they told her they didn't want her, or she got the feeling they didn't want her. One of the two. I don't think there's any other real solution there. This feels like a good place to end it. Will I be applying? 100% not. In no way am I qualified. So, yeah, I'll be here with you guys hanging out on YouTube and posting on a message board. All I know how to do, man. So sorry if that disappoints any of you, but that's how it's going to go. It should make you happy as a Mizzou fan, but I don't want that job and would not get that job. So, look, guys, again, just kind of processing through it all in real time. We've had some stuff on the site, on the message board. We'll continue to have more. We're going to obviously be trying to follow this and cover it where it goes. I would expect this to be a pretty quiet search. Most of them for the last few years have been. If we get some information, certainly we will pass that on and try to keep you as appraised to everything that's going on as we can. But appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with us. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as you leave. If you're listening on the podcast, which I will post after this, leave us a nice review, do all of those things, and get in touch with my buddy, James Carlton. Again, James, if you're watching, sorry we couldn't do the call today. We'll talk another time about my insurance. Encourage all of you guys to contact James at carltoninsurance.net or at 314-961-4800 about your insurance needs and about how you can help Mizzou Athletics through a time of transition that we did not anticipate. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next time. Don't know when that will be. As of now, not scheduled to do it until next week. Weird stuff happens, man. Might be sooner.